Sometimes the greatest dangers don't come from strangers or dark alleys. They come from the people we trust the most, our own blood.
7 members of the same family were murdered in Joliet. Police say their own relative, Romeo Nance, was the killer.
Gruesome mass murder in Joliet. 8 people found shot to death.
8 people were killed.
Killing 8.
In January 2024, the quiet city of Joliet, Illinois, was shattered by one of the most disturbing family tragedies in recent memory. A young man named Romeo Nance didn't just turn violent. He turned on nearly everyone who had ever loved him. What followed was a massacre so chilling, so deliberate, that it stunned the entire nation. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was a systematic destruction of a family from the inside out. To understand the magnitude of this case, we have to start with Joliet itself. Joliet isn't the kind of place where people expect headline-grabbing horrors. It's a working-class city, full of families who've lived there for generations. People know their neighbors by name. They gather for block parties, watch each other's kids, and share food when times are tough. That's why when the news broke in January, it didn't just feel like a crime. It felt like a betrayal of what Joliet stood for. At the center of this story was Tamika Nance, a 47-year-old mother of 5. She was described as the rock of her family, the one who held everything together. Tamika worked long hours, but always managed to make her kids feel loved and celebrated. Birthdays, graduations, small milestones. She made sure none of it went unnoticed. Tamika's children were her world. Joshua, the eldest, at 31. Alexandria, just 20. Alana, 16, Angel, only 14, and Romeo, the oldest son, still living at home. Neighbors said the family was private, but close-knit. From the outside, they seemed like any other hardworking household. But behind the closed doors of the Nance home, something far darker was building. Romeo was known as quiet and withdrawn. Some people described him as polite, others remembered him as moody, distant, even unpredictable. It wasn't the kind of behavior that immediately screamed danger, but it was enough to make some uneasy. And law enforcement had already taken notice. In 2023, Romeo was pulled over by police. Inside his car, they found a loaded handgun, ammunition, and clear evidence that he wasn't just a young man making small mistakes. He was walking a dangerous path. He was arrested and faced multiple felony charges, including illegal gun possession and aggravated assault. But here's the detail that still haunts many. Despite those charges, Romeo was released. His girlfriend, Kylie Cleveland Singleton, posted a $10,000 bond. Romeo walked free while his case moved slowly through the courts. No trial, no conviction, and no real consequences that might have stopped what was going to come. At the time, it seemed like just another case of a young man with a gun charge. But looking back, the traffic stop reads like a giant red flag that nobody fully acknowledged. Before diving into the tragedy itself, it's important to remember who the victims were, because this isn't just a story about crime, it's a story about people whose lives mattered. Tamika Nance, 47, a mother who lived for her children. She worked tirelessly, defended her son even during his arrest, and built her family around love and resilience. Joshua Nance, 31, the oldest sibling. He struggled with challenges like many people do, but he was trying to find his way, and he never expected danger to come from his own brother. Alexandria Nance, 20, calm, dependable, and selfless. She was stepping into adulthood and had become the sister everyone could rely on. Alana Nance, 16, a bright teenager still in high school. She was energetic, ambitious, and at the very start of discovering who she wanted to be. Angel Nance, 14, the youngest sister, inseparable from Alana, full of life and laughter. She was just a child, with everything still ahead of her. Christine Esters, 38, Tamika's sister, described as warm and giving. William E. Esters II, 35, Romeo's uncle, someone who had built his life around family. These weren't faceless names in a police report. They were loved, they were needed, and in one night, their futures were erased. It began on Sunday, January 21st, 2024, with a shooting across town. A 42-year-old man was found limping down Davis Street, bleeding from a gunshot wound to his leg. He was lucky he survived. Hours later, another call came in from the Pheasant Run apartments. Toyosi Bear, a 28-year-old man, had been found outside, shot in the head. Nothing was stolen. His wallet and cash were still on him. This wasn't about money. Both scenes had one thing in common: a red Toyota Camry seen leaving the area. That car was registered to none other than Romeo Nance. Deputies rushed to West Acres, the neighborhood where Romeo lived. When they knocked on the door of the first house, there was no answer. The lights were off. The silence unnerving. They crossed the street to another family home. That's when they noticed it: blood on the front door. Inside, 2 people lay dead. Realizing something horrific was unfolding, police forced entry into the first home. What they discovered there would haunt them forever. 5 more bodies, family members, children, a mother, all gone. 7 people murdered inside 2 homes. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, just a quiet, methodical slaughter. This wasn't the chaos of a sudden argument. Investigators later determined Romeo moved calmly from room to room. He killed his mother and uncle first, then crossed the street and murdered his sisters and brother. The crime didn't look impulsive. It looked like a mission. By the time police pieced everything together, Romeo was already gone. His car, his name, and the trail of devastation he left behind were all that remained. One veteran officer later said, "I've been a policeman for 28 years. This is the first crime scene I've ever been associated with." With Romeo on the run, law enforcement launched a massive manhunt. It began locally, then spread statewide, then nationwide. Authorities tracked his car across multiple states, desperate to stop him before he killed again. Meanwhile, investigators turned their attention to his girlfriend, Kylie Cleveland Singleton, who was also the mother of his 3-year-old child. Police believed she misled them on purpose, feeding false information that delayed their ability to catch Romeo. She was later charged with obstruction of justice. Romeo wasn't just running, he had help. The chase finally ended more than 1,000 miles away at a travel stop in Natalia, Texas, near San Antonio. On January 22nd, U.S. Marshals located his red Toyota Camry. Romeo was sitting inside, but before they could even approach, he pulled out a gun and ended his own life. Just like that, the truth behind his motive, why he murdered nearly his entire family, died with him. When the news reached Joliet, the community was left reeling. Candlelight vigils were held. Balloons were released in memory of the victims. Friends and relatives spoke about who they really were. Not just the way they died, but the way they lived. One surviving family member put it best: "My family was all about love and laughter. They would wake up in the middle of the night to help friends or family. They would give their last to help others. That's who they were." It's a heartbreaking irony. The same mother who defended Romeo during his arrest was one of his victims. The same siblings who shared childhood memories with him were silenced by his hand. There was no trial, no answers, just grief and an endless list of what-ifs. What if the earlier charges had been taken more seriously? What if his warning signs hadn't been ignored? What if someone had intervened before it was too late? The story of Romeo Nance isn't just about one family. It's about the system that missed warning signs. It's about how someone known to be dangerous could still walk free. And it's about how violence can destroy not just lives, but entire communities. For Joliet, the massacre became a reminder that safety is fragile, that sometimes the threat we least expect, the ones inside our own homes, are the most devastating of all. And for the rest of us, it forces a haunting question. If love, family, and loyalty aren't enough to prevent tragedy, what is? If you found this story important, take a moment to honor the victims: Tamika, Joshua, Alexandria, Alana, Angel, Christine, and William. Their names deserve to be remembered, not forgotten. And if you want more stories like this, cases that demand attention and reflection, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share this video. Because behind every headline is a family, a community, and lives that mattered.